WhiskyJason here, whiskey from the viewpoint of an American over here in Germany, often tasting rare and exotic whiskeys. Today I have something from France. Armorik Maître de Chez. This is from the Warenghem Distillery in Brittany. So if you're not a big fan of French culture and history and spirits, then maybe you do not know. If you look at Brittany, this is a little bit of that tip. So on different countries missing underneath it, but that's all right. So, and this is the limited edition, and Maître de Chez means the cellar master. So if you've ever had wine, you know that there's someone responsible for what's going down in the cellar, picking the right bottles at the right time for the right occasion, and so on. And here we have actually from Armorik. It says here, true Quatre Blanc, given to our cellar master, and I'm sorry for butchering your name here, Ervan Levebreve. This Armorik comes from the best barrels from our cellars. Each barrel, each aromatic note contributes to this Armorik Maître de Chez of great complexity and incredible balance. So now, if I pull out the bottle here, first of all, congrats on using recycled glass. That's very, very good. At least a big portion of that is. On the label, there is no mention of the 10 casks used, but on the box there are. And now I'm just kind of scratching my head and going, wait a second. I know that on the bottle with the whiskey, you can't put there any information about anything except for the youngest whiskey in here. But could you? Are you allowed to? Is it possible to put them someplace else, for example, on the box? Because here we have the list of all the different barrels and casks used. And so I'm just going to scoot over here. I'm going to put this up over here so you can read along. So we have one barrel here from the wonderfully interesting wine that is Savennières. It's a first fill distilled September 2017, and a second barrel of exactly the same type, Savennières, first fill distilled October 2015. So that's good. Then we have a barrel in here from Pineau de Charentes, first fill distilled June 2018. So it's almost 5 years. It's 5 years old, not much more. We have a barrel of Banyuls. It's a first fill distilled March 2019. So that's 4 years of age, the youngest whiskey in here. We have an STR Vinho first fill. I did not know. Okay, good. So I know we use STR casks for the whiskey industry, but apparently we also might have STR casks being used in the wine industry, shaved, toasted, recharred. So basically it's a Spanish red wine cask usually, and they shaved it, they toasted and recharred it. The distillate was from January 2017. We have a Bourbon-Re-Fill. The only time they did not use the first fill, this is the Bourbon-Re-Fill, and it's from December 2009. So we're talking now here about almost 14-year-old distillate. 13 by the time it was in the bottle here. We have a first fill bourbon cask distilled in August 2012. So also 10 plus years. And then we go over to casks. Every single time they said barrels, and this is a cask. Does that mean it's a hogshead? Does it mean that it's a butt? We have a sherry Oloroso Spanish oak, first fill distilled August 2014. And we have a sherry Oloroso American oak, first fill distilled also October 2014. So we have Spanish oak and we have American oak going on in here. Interesting. And last but not least, we have a last barrel, and it's French oak first fill. So it's a virgin oak, French, probably not charred at all, just toasted, and the distillate was from February of 2017. So basically everything we want in a whiskey is here. We have 50% ABV, we have non-chilled filtered, we have double distilled on copper pot stills, we have natural color, non-chilled filtered, We have the exact cask compositions here. We have French barley, the water from the Rest-Avel source, matured in oak cask. We have the oceanic influence of the Breton climate. We have a geographical indication called Whiskey Breton. And we have rich and fruity single malt, according to here. All right, so what do we have here? It says, Armorik single malt is distilled, matured, and bottled in our distillery in Brittany, France, family-owned, heirs to a century-old craft. We are the pioneers of whiskey in France, our dedicated team of 24 passionate professionals. Our team is happy to share with you this exceptional single malt whiskey. All right, let's see if that's the case. Now, the room here is back. I can now put something up here. I did not talk about, did I mention the Whiskybase number? This is Whiskybase 239017 and 2,500 bottles in total. That's it. So what I do have over here is prices. In France, by Le Maison de Whisky, so whisky.fr, 84 euros. At the distillery itself, where it was produced, Warenghem, it's 80 euros. And in Germany, 65 euros. I don't get it sometimes. All right, so I bought this directly from a German wholesaler. I didn't buy it even from the importer, I don't think. Bought it from the German wholesaler, and no, I did buy it from the importer. And I just put my normal 30% markup on the bottle, and it turned out to be 65 euros and 90 cents. This is 75 euros at the moment over here in Germany. So this is cheaper than this is in France. And that's why I picked it. And I haven't had it for a while, and I was like, oh, the perfect comparison whiskey, in my opinion, from Scotland would have been a Bruichladdich. I just don't have at the moment a Bruichladdich open. 50%, it could have been a classic laddie with all the different casks. You can just put in the code and you can find out all the casks that were used and so on. And it's very similar to what's going on here. But alas, I did not have it, and therefore we went to something else. This is a signed Rachel Berry bottle. This is non-chilled filtered. This is no color added still on the, at least on the tin here. And color-wise, you will notice very, very quickly that there is, from the Oloroso and Pedro Jimenez here, a major influence of the whiskey. 46%, 50%. All right, let's try this. I have high hopes. I like the concept. I think that continental European whiskeys, especially the single malts, have not just a place in the shelves of a whiskey connoisseur, but also might become an alternative to single malt Scotch. Two basic reasons. Number one, if they can keep the prices down, 60-some euros for a good 50% product that hopefully tastes very, very delicious compared to maybe something in Scotland that's going to be up to 80 euros in the future. The prices of Scotch have skyrocketed in the last couple of years, and the last year in general has just been sickening. And the second thing is a lot of people have realized and recognized, and it's being started to be talked about, is the quality of the single malt Scotch is not what it used to be. It's on a downward trend. Now, if the continental European whiskey makers, German, French, and others, could actually continue to have that learning curve, and actually there will be a moment where there's a passing point where the European single malt, at least some of the gems here, will be better value and better taste than something that's been priced out of our range from Scotland. And I do see that there's a little bit of a possibility of that. There might even be, from the Scotch whiskey perspective, even a danger of that happening. And I think the people in Scotland, the Scotch whiskey industry themselves, are the answer or the antidote to this problem, to this sickness. Use better barrels, have better prices. We'll see. All right, here we have first fill. Very, very nice. All right, so the question is, do I like this? On the nose. There's a certain wine sourness going on in here. I don't know, it's acidity. There's an acidity going on in here. There's a white wine acidity. I am not the best friend of white wine cask matured whiskeys. There have been a few, but they have been far and few between. Sometimes, and this is a little bit like the art form of blending that we remember maybe, or we've heard about from Japan, where they have that hibiki harmony and the perfect balance and everything's just excellent. That's what I would expect here. This is not what I'm getting. If this is really the best casks from the cellar that there is at all, I'm a little disappointed, let's say that. Now, there is a moment of caramelized popcorn. There is a moment of a little bit of wood. There's a barley sweetness going on in here. There's a little bit of an herbalness also in this. But this is not really something that rocks my boat at this moment. So on the nose, I should have intense, great aromatic complexity, the summer fruitiness of Armorik with its peach nose. I'm not sure about the peach. Is accompanied by spices and wood, which brings richness. Okay. Let's see. Cheers. 50% ABV. The youngest whiskey in here is 4 years of age. Wow. If you've never seen my videos before, I often rate the curve of the whiskey flavor in my mouth, and this is how much heat. This has a large amount of heat for 50 ABV. There's a heat, there's a sharpness, there's just that pain of the alcohol on my taste buds here. At the beginning, it's, oh, that's nice, and then wait, there's heat, and wait, there's even more heat, and then there's heat, and then finally heat dissipates, and what's left is a very nice finish. But it's still lingering a little bit of the heat, which really, it's peppery heat. It's powerful heat. So, mouth on the palate. This Armorik presents a balance between freshness and deliciousness. I'm sorry. Fresh pear mixes with exotic fruits before evolving into the sweetness of vanilla cream. And the finish is very long. The finish lingers with notes of quince jelly. Wow, I did not research that word beforehand. So, okay. Now I need to know how to pronounce this correctly. Quince. Okay, I was close. Quince. So, quince is this little sole member of the tree that bears hard, aromatic, bright, golden yellow fruit similar in appearance to a pear. But, okay, it's a little bit different here. So, a highly fragrant, pear-like fruit that must be cooked before eating. That's why I'm not very aware of it. It's still there, the finish. The finish is good. But the process, the way, the path to this nice, interesting finish is just way too steep. Way too hot. Now, 50%, you can dilute it down, and I'm going to do this. I'm going to bring it down to about 42%. Now, you get more out of your bottle by doing so, but often it's the question that I ask myself, why do they not just bottle it at the best optimal tasting moment? Okay, I know my palate is different than your palate, but 50% is, in my opinion, too hot. Sorry, but it's just too hot. 42% around. A lot of the acidity is gone. I get a little bit more of that fruity wood moment. It might actually be the pear that I'm getting here. A little bit of spice, a little bit of herbalness. Peach, no. I at least kind of have the impression that there's older whiskeys in here. The younger whiskeys are there. It's very creamy. It's fragrance. There's the deliciousness of it going on in there at 42%. With water, this is like a C plus whiskey, maybe even a C plus plus. I can go for C plus plus actually for the flavor that this whiskey delivers. But at the bottle strength, 50%, it's just way too hot. That's a C minus. And there's such an extreme between what's delivered directly from the distillery and what potential this whiskey actually has, in my opinion. The finish is just wonderful. It's long. It's thick. It's almost like a little bit. I mean this in a good way. I have the feeling of a little bit of suede. Very, very, very nice. But let's talk price for a moment. 80 euros in France, way too expensive. It's a D value for money. 65 euros for a 4-year-old whiskey. Yes, I know the other components are much older, but technically speaking, it's a 4-year-old whiskey. 65 euros, it's still a D plus. Now, C minus versus C plus. It's plus plus with the water. This is really an interesting bottle. I hope that Armorik understands that the drinking population of whiskey, it doesn't always have to be smooth, but it can't burn your taste buds. And this whiskey here is, in my personal opinion, a mixture of whiskeys that are just too young at the moment and not where they should be to encourage new customers of French whiskey to discover and enjoy and to recommend and evangelize other people about this whiskey. There's a whiskey channel out there. Leon is a good friend of mine. He's over here in Germany. He has this whiskey channel called Malt Mariners, and he now has a sub-channel in English about the Malt Mariners way. And he's doing some interesting videos about his travels around France, visiting different distilleries, interviewing different distillers in France. His French is much, much better than mine. And this is a very, very promising whiskey, but yet it doesn't deliver like I had hoped. Question of the day, and then I'll be able to treat myself here to do a bit of Glendronach, 15 years of age. What is your favorite French whiskey? Have you had anything? Greg's Whiskey Guide's probably going to write a long list of great whiskeys from France that he can recommend. Please do that, Greg. There's so many great whiskeys out there. This is good whiskey with water. Whiskey just straight out of the bottle. This, from the very beginning, with 46%. It's a treat. Oh. This is whiskey I can give to a new whiskey drinker, and they try it and they go, oh, there's a little bit of alcohol. Yes, 46%, but there's a lot of flavor. Here, there's a lot of flavor and a lot of alcohol. We need to tame that down a little bit and keep the amount of flavor. This is so good. If you've never had the Glendronach 15, you're in a good place because you don't remember it being half the price it is today. Go out there and go to a bar, try it before you buy it, but I can highly, highly recommend that. Thank you very much for watching, liking, subscribing, and telling others. Whiskey Jason here. See you real soon. Bye-bye.